What's up, YouTube? You're watching Steel City MotoVlogs. I'm Derrick T, your host, and today's video is going to be a little different only because I decided to take some footage that I'm pretty much not using for anything else and to actually use it to weigh in on a topic. So before I get started, if you take a look on your screen, I'm pretty much riding home from Norfolk, Virginia with a bunch of my friends. There were, I believe, 7 of us all together. And so those are the other bikes that you'll see is the company that I was riding with when we made our way back to Pittsburgh. This is obviously not the whole trip home, but it's good footage and I didn't want it to go to waste. So that's kind of the foundation of this video. However, I did want to get into a topic today, and I feel like I've gotten to a point in my own motorcycle journey where I can effectively weigh in on certain topics that come up and actually have some footing to stand on based on my own personal experiences, based on what my beliefs are, based on the kind of rider that I am, and all those kinds of things. And so let's get into this particular topic. You've actually seen it on the thumbnail by now, and you've also read the title. And so let's just talk this thing out for a minute. Real riders versus fake riders. And my question is, who's making the rules? By whose standard are we judging other bikers by? You know, who's keeping the records? I know the Iron Butt Association, you know, if you're doing an Iron Butt challenge, you know, you've got to turn in receipts and all kinds of evidence to prove the challenge that you did. And hey man, hats off to you guys who are out there doing it, man. That's amazing. I don't know if I'm there yet, but that's amazing. Those of you all who are out there doing it. But yeah, let's get into this thing about real riders and fake riders and why people believe it's so important to distinguish between the two. In my mind, there's no two human beings that are alike. As a matter of fact, that's not an opinion, that's a biological fact. No two people are exactly the same. Even my own twin brother and I are two very different people. Couldn't be any more different. Yes, for those of you who didn't know, I do have a twin brother. Why do we feel like we have to be so divisive when we're all doing the same thing? Regardless of how frequently you do it, regardless of how infrequently you do it, regardless of how many miles per year you put on your bike, if you only put 1,000 miles every year on your bike, or if you put 50,000 miles a year on your bike, it's still the same ride. You're on 2 wheels. It's the same experience, regardless how far you went, regardless how far you didn't go. We're all out here doing the same thing. And why do we feel like we have to minimize somebody else? Is that because we got to feel better about our own situations? I'm not quite sure I understand. One person in a Facebook group stated that if you if you got a bike and you had the opportunity to ride less than 10 hours away, but you chose to trailer your bike, regardless if you're in a club or if you're not in a club, you're not a real rider. And also, if you don't ride in the rain, you're not a real rider. Okay. First of all, I won't even get into how silly that is. Again, no two human beings are exactly the same. So, since we don't know why a person would choose to trailer their bike no matter how far they were going versus riding their bike to a particular event, we all buy motorcycles for various reasons. Some bikes are show bikes. They're not meant to to pile a whole bunch of mileage on. They're show bikes, or they're bought to put sounds on them and go to competitions and compete for lights and everything else. My bike is not a show bike. My bike is a riding bike, but there's nothing wrong if you got a show bike and you participate in competitions, or if it's just something that you do because that's what you love to do. I respect you either way. Why do we have to minimize what somebody else is doing? Why is different so bad? You know, just because somebody is doing something differently than the way that you're doing it, why do we feel like we have to minimize what that person is doing? And again, who's writing the book? What makes a real rider? I don't really know. What makes a fake rider? I don't really know. When I ride down the street and I see somebody on a motorcycle, that to me is a biker. That to me is a rider. Why? Because he's riding. Why do we have to put various degrees on it? Myself, as far as riding in the rain goes, I'm the kind of guy where if I get caught in the rain, I'm prepared to ride in the rain. But chances are, if you see me riding in the rain, it was an accident. It wasn't something that I was planning to do, and it wasn't something that I set out to do. Let me go out and ride in the rain today. But if I have to ride in the rain, I will ride in the rain. Now, at the same time, if it's pouring down rain when I look out my window and I'm already at home and I've got to go somewhere, I'm not getting on the bike to do that. Going out in the pouring down rain. Not to prove to somebody on Facebook that I'm a real rider. No, I'm getting in the car and I'm going to go do whatever I need to do. Speaking of getting in a car to go do something versus riding the bike. Now, for me, I do a lot of commuting on my bike, as well as the trips that I get to take here and there. I do a lot of commuting when I'm by myself, which means that my car stays parked quite frequently when I'm by myself, and for me, when the weather's permitting. So when my car is parked and I'm not driving it that frequently, does that make me not a real driver? Does that make my driver's license less of a driver's license? Because I'm not driving the car as much as I would normally drive a car if I didn't have a bike, if I didn't have some alternate means of transportation. I really don't know what the answer to that is. But at the same time, I'm asking those rhetorical questions to point out how silly it is for us to be judging other people based on what they do, particularly when you haven't bought a bike for anybody, you haven't paid a note for anybody, you haven't bought a trailer for anybody. So to cast judgment on somebody on what they do with the things that they purchased with their hard-earned money, I don't know. It's just really, really silly to me. And like I said, if anybody has any clarity for me, please drop it in the comments. I would welcome this conversation. If you don't like what I'm saying, I welcome a healthy conversation, not a disrespectful one. I'm not out to throw shade at anybody. I do think that some of these positions are pretty silly, but that's not me throwing shade at anybody. That's me weighing in on a topic. But I would welcome a healthy conversation between two people who are grown adults who can respect each other and even respectfully disagree. But I would really like to know and get the clarity, who's making the rules? Regardless if you're riding in a club or not. I've heard stuff, silly stuff from people who say, if you're not in a club, you're not really a rider, which is, I don't know. I mean, before I joined a club, I rode by myself. Did that make me not a real rider? I don't really know. And who do I need to contact to inform them that I am in a club so that they can count me as a real rider? I'll wait for that answer in the comments. Please, let me know something. I don't know. I just really believe that we ought to celebrate each other's differences. And there's so many avenues and so many opportunities and so many times that we choose to go the route of division and divisiveness instead of actually coming together and celebrating the things that we do that we love doing, particularly when we're out riding our bikes. Why do we always have to make it into a divisive thing where club or no club, trailer or no trailer, dark side or no dark side, whatever it is? I mean, we're so nitpicky about this thing called motorcycling and called the motorcycle journey and the motorcycle set and, you know, the motors of the bike life. Why are we so divisive about that when truthfully we're all in this thing together? I'll ask this question, put it out this way. When you see a motorcyclist was in a crash, when you drive by a scene and you see a bike laying on the ground, there's a car that's wrecked, person who was riding the bike is laying on the ground, terrible situation. When first responders pull up in that situation, first responders aren't worried about, is that a real rider? Does he have a patch on the back of his vest? First responders aren't worried about that. They see a human being in distress and they're doing what they can to save a life. Why aren't we worried about that? Why aren't we worried about it just being another human being who happens to share the same like or the same love for the things that I like, because we're both riding down the street on the same kind of machine and it could easily be either one of us. But instead, we go left and decide to tear other people down. I don't like it. I'm weighing in. I don't like it. I actually hate it. I think it's silly. I think it's immature. I think a lot of grown adults still have some growing up to do. And if you got offended by anything that I said, like I said, I'm open to healthy conversations so that we can get on the same page about this thing and quit being so divisive. So I guess that's my little rant for this video. It's probably a little bit shorter today than most of my videos, but that's okay too. I really appreciate everybody who stops by my channel and watches my videos and supports the channel the way that you do. If you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. All of those things help the channel out. Share it with a friend, that'd be great. I really appreciate all of your support, and I'm gonna be keeping the party going. So until next time, I'm Derrick T. This is Steel City MotoVlogs. Hope you all are safe out there, and I'll see you all on the next adventure.